Well, hey there, English expanders. Welcome again to the next episode of Expand Your English. Today, we're going to talk about the role play activity in the speaking test. During the role play activity, you need to act out a certain situation. Either in Hungarian language exams like Origo, Euro exam, or the BME exam, or the TELS exam, ECL exam, let's take any of them. There is a situational exercise, a role play activity, and you know what? A lot of students don't know how to act in a natural way during this exam part. This is why I prepared you a short mini lesson on this subject, and I hope to see your comments coming in. Now I'm going live with from my Mac, from my computer, so I can see the comments flowing in, and I can react to them quite easily now. Let's begin with the question of the day. But before the question of the day, let me greet you. Esther is here. Hey there. I'm so happy that you joined. Agnes, my dear student, is also here. Hello, Agnes. Nice to have you here in my Expand Your English Facebook Live show. There are 6 more other people joining in. Feel free to comment and feel free to answer my questions while I'm doing the show. And if you think you will not succeed during the situational game or situational role play just now, so if you feel that you are afraid of this part, comment yes to me in the comments below, please. Write yes in the comments if you feel that you are afraid of this task. When I was younger, you know, I took the language exam 21 years ago. So when I was younger, I used to be very afraid. I used to shake when I thought of the situational game or the role play activity with the examiner. And you know why? Because I felt that that it's an unnatural way to talk to a Hungarian person in English about a certain situation. But anyhow, I managed to suffer through my preparation, and you know what? This task was the worst during my exam. I know why it was such a horrible thing for me. Because at that time, 21 years ago, I used to translate everything in my head. I used to translate the sentences word by word, which I don't do anymore, because I learned how to speak in English more fluently, and I learned what tactics work best with the situational exercise. So if you're afraid of the role play activity during your speaking test, write yes in the comments, and I will know that you are just the same as I was 21 years ago. So let's get started. I will give you some tips about how to deal with the situational task during the speaking test. And my first tip is very easy. It's that you should be natural during this activity. But how can you be natural during such an unnatural activity? I will tell you some tips about that. What you need to understand first is that for this activity, you need complete sentences. Not just words, not just expressions, but you need to study complete sentences like, how about going to the cinema? Why don't we go to the cinema? I would like to go to the cinema with you tomorrow. Or, do you fancy going to the cinema tomorrow? If you have complete sentences in your mind for different situations, like arranging a program, arranging a meeting, or inviting a friend for a restaurant, or refusing your friend's offer. So if you have complete sentences for this situation or for certain situations, in the exam, you will not have to translate each and every sentence word by word in your mind, but you will take out the sentence instantly and you can put in the words from your given situation. So, for example, if your situation is about the theater, not the cinema, but you learn the sentences with the cinema, that's not a problem. You just take out the cinema, pull it away, and then pull in the expressions with the theater, and it's that easy. It's just like this, and you know, you don't just write the sentences out for yourself, but you need to study them. And you know how? You need to study them maybe in front of a mirror. It's there you can see how your mouth is moving. There you can see how your face is reacting. And my number 2 tip is reaction. This is what I always teach to my students. That if you want to get higher points in communication during the speaking test, you need to react to either to what your partner, your fellow student is telling you, or you need to react to the examiner's questions or ideas. So what I teach my students always, and they keep laughing, when let's say you are taking the exam with the examiner, okay? And he's telling you that, oh, how about going to the cinema on Saturday? And you just react, yeah, well, okay. That's not the way how you should react in an exam. You should also study sentences about how to react, how to accept an invitation, or how to refuse or reject an invitation, like this. How about going to the cinema on Saturday evening? Oh, great, that's a wonderful idea. I like that. Okay, let's meet at 10 o'clock in front of the cinema then. Okay, so you need to tell them whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, or you can ask questions from the examiners. Okay, all right, that's a great idea. When shall we meet? Right? Because in that way, it's going to be a natural conversation, just like in real life. So you need to react, and you need to ask questions from the examiner or your fellow student. It depends on which exam type have you chosen. How can you find such given sentences? I told you this a million times, but your course book, your student's book, is a wonderful source of set sentences. You don't need you can't find sentences like this in long readings, but I know for sure that every unit, module, call it what you want, contains a situational game or a situational exercise in which you either need to write in the missing words, or you need to put the situations in the correct order. I know that this exists in New English File. I know that New Headway has lots of situations, and also Traveler books have situations. So now, tell us in the comments, which course books do you have on your shelves? Because I'm sure each and every one of you has millions of course books, English course books on their shelves. But sometimes they are untouched. Now, you can, after this Facebook Live, you can take them out and look at the situational exercises, and then you can write some very good sentences on pieces of paper for yourself, first in English, then in Hungarian on the other side, and then you can learn them very easily. So what course books do you have on your shelves? on my shelves, my favorite course books is, I used to teach from New Hadway back in the day, 15 years ago. But then, at the school I was a teacher at, we changed to New English File. I love that series. It's it's for my organized brain. You know, you can see when grammar is coming, when reading is coming, when listening is coming, and when the situational game is coming. I love that series. If you have it on your shelves, you are going to have an easy task, because each and every module or file, contains a situational exercise, and there you can have your set sentences from. But New Hadway is also good. Traveler is brilliant also. At every stages, it contains role play activities. And I also have, I guess, Cutting Edge on my shelf, and something from Pearson for teenage students. I forgot the name of it. So let's take a look at the comments. Hi, Peter. Nice to have you here. We have just talked before the lesson, and I hope you will have a wonderful rest in the morning. Right. Hi, Zoli. Nice to have you here too. So my friends are joining in, and they are having a good laugh, I guess, about my Facebook Live show. So let's jump to tip number 1 until the comments come in. And tip number 2 is this. When you read your situational role play card at the exam, you will have always half a minute or 1 minute to read it through carefully. Now, why do you need to read it through very carefully? Because you can't take it in your hands and use it while the situation is going on. My best tip is to have eye contact with the examiner. Always try to look them in the eye. All right, and of course you will have some seconds to take a glimpse at your role play card, but bear it in mind that you need to memorize the most important things. And why do you need to memorize them? Because if you need to talk about each and every point on the role play card, because if you don't talk about all the points, you will not get plus points, but you will get minus points for that. Okay, so you don't need to follow the points sentence by sentence. You can mix the points that you need to talk about, but you need to talk about each and every point because you will get minus points for that. And this is why it's better for you to practice situations at home. And how can you practice these situations? You need to find some books which help you in your preparation. If you are based in Hungary, Blackbird is a wonderful source for situations and situational role play cards. They have lots of points to take care of, so you can practice how well you can memorize the situational role play cards. My tip number 3 is that, and my last tip for today, that everybody knows that English language and speaking in English is, how shall I put it, is a polite, you need to be polite if you want to speak English and if you want to solve a situation with the examiner in English. You need to use please and thank you. And when you want to ask for something from the examiner, you need to put this please behind your sentence. So you need to practice how to ask polite questions and how to ask somebody for something in a polite way. Would you please, or sorry, could you please, or will you please do this and that for me? Or the other good way to ask questions or polite questions from the examiner is that you ask indirect questions, not direct questions like what's the time? but an indirect question like, can you tell me what the time is? Can you tell me, or could you please tell me what the time is? Or could you please tell me where I can find the butter in the supermarket? So it's a very, very important to pay attention, to be polite, because in that way you can get higher marks in your communicational points. And if you just want to say no, your answer is no, I can't help you, then don't just say it like this rude way, but put in an I'm afraid I disagree with you, or I'm afraid I can't help you. And in such a way, you will become a polite candidate at the exam. Right, these were my 3 tips for you for the situational role play. Try to be more natural, and you can be more natural in the speaking test by not translating each and every word or sentence word by word, but learning new sentences. You can find these sentences in course books, and also not just in course books, but in your favorite films or series. You can find lots of useful sentences for this situational role play exercise. And my third tip was, you need to be polite and react to what the examiner tells you to do. Or if the examiner asks you a question, always react to their ideas. You need to learn how to do them, but it's your task to do this. And let's meet my friends. Arpad is here again. Welcome. And Emeshe, I'm so happy that you're here and listening to us. Could you give me max point for my language exam? Emeshe, I'm absolutely sure you will get almost maximum points at your speaking test. Hi, Orshi, nice to have you here. I'm so happy that you joined. Lots of my students are here, and I'm happy to have you here. And I would be really happy to have you in my afternoon webinar. Which is going to start at 4 o'clock. It's going to take place in Hungarian. You need to register for it, so you need to go to a certain page. I'm going to give you the page in the comments below. You can join this webinar until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's going to start at 4 o'clock, and it's about how to prepare for your speaking test when you lack time. I'm going to give you very useful tips which you can implement right away, and which will help you to prepare for your speaking test. Yes, believe me, it's going to be useful. I'm going to give the page where you can register for this webinar in the comments below. And please join my webinar, and there you can also comment. Although the webinar is going to be in Hungarian, feel free to comment in English if you wish. I will comment back to you in English too. And if you want to have more useful tips, visit my blog site, blog.englishexpander.net, where you can read everything in Hungarian, but useful tips, and you can watch all my videos. Don't forget to watch my previous 13 English Expand Your English videos. And of course, if you are preparing for the speaking test which is going to take place in just a few days or weeks, don't forget to download or register for my 3-part video series, in which I will give you really useful tips for preparing to your language exam. But if you want to have everything in just 45 minutes, join my live webinar today at until 4 o'clock. Until that, goodbye, and see you next week with another episode of Expand Your English. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Goodbye.